Welcome to the Dragon's Tome. We discuss Dragon Magazine every issue from 1 to 1 million. And we're on issue 178 this week, February 1992. My name's Rob.
And I'm Jack.
And I'm Chopper.
We're here to discuss this one. The cover is by Jim Holloway. We've had covers by Jim Holloway before. And it's
Yes.
it looks like he was fighting maybe a white dragon. Somebody froze all these guys. And it was
Cold,
an
baby.
epic battle, and they got froze.
I do like the caption in the description where he says the artist thinks that this dwarf with his finger pointing out says that dwarf owes me money.
Well, you can take it off his cold, dead corpse.
Dead
Literally.
corpse.
Literally.
So, I think it's a cool pic, but I'm trying to figure out what are these two sticks that are coming out from this guy's underarm. Are they in the dwarf or are they in the what is it?
Yeah, that is kind of an odd addition. It doesn't really play.
Because this is all rock, right? So
And they don't look like spears, because they just look like
Yeah.
sticks. Yeah, it's very strange.
In the foreground, like out of focus, there's more. So maybe there was part of a structure or something.
oh yeah, down here.
Oh, yeah, I
see.
Well, I think these are spears though, because there's definitely a spear here, but this doesn't look like a spear.
It doesn't look like it's stabbed into him either. It kind of like it's just laying on the
maybe
rocks.
maybe there's something behind him because if you look on his left leg, there's another stick coming right over his hip,
Oh, yeah.
coming
weird.
towards us.
Yeah.
So
It's strange. I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure it meant something in the picture. But it's a fun little picture of dwarves. These are dwarves. For once, we know for sure these are dwarves.
yes,
They're
there's
not
no
gnomes.
argument.
They're not anything else. These are dwarves.
And they have knees because the one guy's crouching.
Or is he just sunk into the snow?
No, his little caked up bum is he's crouching.
He's taking a poop
On their corpses.
and after battle poop.
What did he fight here? What is the dead guys? Elves?
No, one of them. I don't know. It's hard to say because they're all covered. It might be humans, but this one on top looks very small too. So
Yeah.
I assumed they were other dwarves.
I don't think they don't look dwarfy. Their proportions are too long.
they look human.
If you know what they're fighting on the cover, let us know. Does it actually say in the description?
I didn't read. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll read it again.
No, just says the frozen dwarves.
This guy owes me $5. That's all it
It
says.
says, yeah. Yeah, fun times. Let's go to first articles. Who's going to start this bad boy? I'm going to go with Pat. Pat, what's your first
Oh
article?
no! Let's go to page 19.
19. You always choose 19 because I always make that joke.
Bazaar of the Bazaar. So these are military magic items for the fantasy battlefield, and most of these are for like mass battle. So if you're part of an invading army, it's a very eclectic amount of different magic items that affect army battles. And like so, one of my couple of my favorite is the battle standard. It's kind of what
Classic.
you would see
Yeah.
classic. Then there is a cask of the wind spy, which is holds a elemental, and you say the activation word, that thing will go out for 2 hours and scout for you and tell you what's coming or how everything's set up. It's invisible and it comes back and lets you know. So it's 1992 version of a drone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's an iron forge that's hard to move, but it can make all kinds of weapons faster or fix them quicker. But it can't be. It's very cumbersome to move, so it has to be wherever you have it. And the last one is the talisman that I like. Is the talisman of Meyer. It's a little silver disc that the commander wears, and allows the user to call up a ground water. Jesus, I can't speak.
Order.
And turns the area into a sticky swamp. So if someone's coming at you, or if you're being run down by cavalry,
Yeah, so this can.
so some of these are really cool.
Brop.
I think the goose thing is right up Jack's alley. It's a little bubo, but it's a goose.
Getting goosed.
Boobo. From Clash of the Titans, not from Plagues.
Yeah, and there's a quartermaster's chest, which
Gotta be clear.
which creates random things that help.
Boobos! Boobos. Wrong boobo.
Yeah. So the quartermaster chest table just creates a ton of different things, but but it's all random, so you never know what you're going to get.
Just like a box of chocolate.
Yeah.
Well, this magazine, this one has kind of a fighter theme going for it. But this article, I think, comes out because Battle Systems version 2 is out. And I think this more so leans, rather than like, hey, fighters are this. This is more like, in Battle Systems, this would be a... They don't mention it, but I think that's...
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that's why I preface it with as mass battles.
Yeah, these are
and or if you are part of a campaign where you're part of an invading army of some sorts, or you are a high-level paladin or cavalier at this point, 2nd edition, leading your king's army or whatever.
Fun times. Yeah, I'm the host. I forgot.
You're the host, right?
I was like, hurry up, guys. Okay, Jack, what's your first article?
One job to do.
Yeah. I was zoned out for a second. Jack, please.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can we go to page 35, please?
35.
35.
What not to include.
What not to include.
I almost did this one, too.
I said 35, but if we could just scroll up for just a moment, what the author, the artwork kind of shows the Swamp Thing, a spaceship, a flying fighter, a little gnome or a halfling fighting a robot. It's like, what not to include? Is this about sci-fi?
This is a Larry Elmore picture for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a Star Frontiers pick.
Some of those characters are from his cartoon he was doing in the magazine, and so some are from Dragonlance, and some are
there's
from...
the robot,
yeah. There's like a mix of all his different characters from all his different things he's drawn.
So it wasn't definitely not a Star Frontiers cover then.
No.
Which kind of insinuates that it's going to be about sci-fi mixing with, but it's not so much. Arthur Collins wrote an article more so about setting boundaries in your campaign. It starts with the kinds of people. If you want to make a campaign and you don't want to include every kind of demi-human as a playable character or something like that, you have to set that out right off the hop because it's going to negatively affect the campaign or the story that you want to tell. He goes on with classes and powers. If you... He says that sometimes a party can lean heavy into it's all halflings, dwarves, and gnomes, and you want to spread it out. There's something to be said for that too. But also, sometimes in your campaign, you're not going to want clerics because the gods are this or something like that. Rob, you want to join us here at the?
I was researching.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to bore you with
Stop distracting me. I was trying to look something up, but now I can't. No, it's too late now. I can't.
I'm joking. I'm kidding. I wasn't kidding.
I was kidding. Well, I love my camera kind of zoomed down.
It betrayed you immediately out of the corner of my eye. It was like a snap pan in a movie where they show the bomb.
I was looking down, and all of a sudden my camera's like, move.
I'm like, what's going on here? Hey, J. Abrams, let's slow roll here. Okay. I better speed up. Apparently, I'm taking too long. Okay. What monsters?
I was trying to look up what that name of that cartoon was, but I never got that far.
Cartoon.
The one we're talking about, Larry Elmore's cartoon.
Oh.
Anyways, go back, Jack. Keep going.
Okay. So it's what monsters you want to include because you're setting up a campaign where you're setting up a world, so you don't want to have everything. The whole monster manual can't possibly live in the ecology of your world. And it's better to set some boundaries and expectations so that you can, your players know what the big bads are.
You know if it's a bunch of dragons in this world or if it's something else, yeah. If it's giant territory or, yeah.
Then he delves into kind of addressing Monty Hall, but also like flavor with treasure. You're not going to want to have, like, your world doesn't necessarily need to have Oriental Adventures weapons with like you don't Excalibur.
Yeah, not everything.
You choose. You go right ahead. You choose. It's to make it more realistic, the world you want to live in, and set the boundaries. And then religions, again, if that's something that you want to set up, if all your players go into legends and lores and they're all, my clerics, got this Roman religion, you're like, I guess so. And then the next one's he's a Dane, and then the next one's like, I worship Odin, and it's like, okay, yeah, but that's not the pantheon of this world. So just right off the hop, this is where you're going to want to look for religion. And the official multiverse is where he ends at the end, and he talks about Ravenloft, and he talks about Kryn, and he talks about all of those things. And we've discussed the kind of the multiverse here in Planes, especially at the beginning of this podcast, because Gary Gygax loved the Planes.
Yes, he did.
So again, you gotta screw that down. You gotta really
clamp down on it. Yeah.
For your campaign, we're not gonna have a guy from Spelljammer show up, and then and also, my vampire is gonna show up. No, we're gonna keep it. And when you do that, his hypothesis is that you can't, as a DM, allow it for legitimate reasons, and it's better if it's
unless the whole point of the game is to multiverse and jump around. Try to limit it, because otherwise it gets muddied. It just muddies the whole idea of everything. You kind of lose track of, okay, what's what. So, and it's just the extra layer of BS, as they say. So
yeah,
right. You suspend disbelief so much to get in the world, and then after a while, the things that don't gel, start to get jarring, and then you're like, oh, okay, Yeah.
So overall, you found it useful? You found this a good article that actually helped you plot a campaign? Or
me personally, this article would be a must-read for anyone who wanted to make sure that you didn't want to fall in all the pitfalls that we read through these. All the hundreds of pitfalls, all the letters of the editor, all the things where like this has happened. This is kind of like make it the world you want to play in, and sometimes it's hard, but you got to make the rules.
Yeah, you got to set limits, otherwise it just gets too much. You're trying to juggle too much going on.
Yeah.
Because there is so much available for D&D at this point, so AD&D. It's to me now, I guess. Let's go for the editor. Might as well get this out of the way. Page 8. He's getting kinky again. Roger's getting kinky.
Still pretty kinky.
This one, he doesn't focus on too many other games. He talks about Toon, because
I love Toon.
Yeah, he says it's ridiculous fun. It's a fun game. But he's more talking about, expands on what kinkiness means to him. And it's pretty much not Tolkien, and not like regular fantasy based. You can be kinky in fantasy, but you got to be different. And he also says there has to be a level of humor. He finds it really helps make a kinky game, as he likes to call them. And he does talk about elves a lot. He's like, either you have no elves, too many elves, or just different elves. So it's like, that's the key to making kinky games. Because there's quite a few games that, like he makes fun of Talcenta, because Talcenta, that's the old ads, no elves. There's no elves in this game. And he's like, yeah, but there's humanoids that look a lot like elves in this game. They're just not called elves. But yeah. He talks about a bunch of other games that are interesting, and yeah, but generally he's just explaining what he means by kinkiness again. I think he just had two like this was one editorial, and he's like, wow, this is way too long for one, so I'm just gonna split it into two. So
Yeah, he went on it. He's typing and he's going, "Oh, this is great." And he looked and this is a novel I've got here. I better.
Because this one actually explains it better than the first one. The first one was kind of like, I'm just talking about these games. This one actually explains what he means by it and how he determines whether these things are fun. But he really gets into Toon and how the wacky adventures they had in their Toon games. So he loves that game.
Like you said, he used the word kinky in a common parlance, maybe of the day, or maybe outdated, or maybe it's his own.
I think it is his own. He kind of implies that even the guys in the office are like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
But I'm just going to say that this now reassessing the word and kind of putting it into like context must mean that other people at the desk are reading the latest edition, going,
I just keep saying it's kinky.
Yeah, exactly.
Roger.
And he's like, yeah. He's kind of funny about he knows what kinky means, but he just still uses it that way. It is like a '60s term, isn't it? Kinky? Because
I don't remember that ever being a term ever.
It reminds me of Austin Powers. That's why. Isn't he used to say kinky? So it's like, I think it's like what are those guys what are this swinging '60s kind of thing? I wonder if that's what it comes from. No, and Roger comes from that era, I bet. So.
Yeah, I would still say no. I was still young enough to know.
Yeah, during a musical about the Aquarius, you would hear someone say, "Oh, and he's a kinky dude" or something like that. Yeah. And he was like, "Okay, yeah, it has no."
That's what I wonder.
I'm thinking about Austin Powers did not use kinky in the Roger Moore sense. He used it in the dirty sense.
I don't know. Anyways, that was the editor. So we're back to Patrick. What do you got?
Let's go to page 24.
24. 24, is this one of mine?
Follow the leader.
Yeah.
So this, I read this and I wasn't really going to do it, but then it just dawned on me like, so basically this article it's a proposed way to determine followers for paladins.
Because fighters get them, but why don't paladins get them?
Yeah, and so I'm not exactly sure I know the answer why paladins don't get fighters. So
they're already super powerful. They don't need help.
But he does give a good case of why paladins aren't allowed. Gives a good case as to why paladins aren't allowed followers, but I just don't understand why. I mean, if Arthurians, legend, those guys could be considered paladins in a sense.
Yeah, for sure they're paladins.
They had followers, men at arms with them.
Well, I think you're allowed to have a squire or something, but they were talking about whole bands of followers. Like you don't have the same idea of castles and. Matters how you think of a paladin. Are you thinking of religious paladin, or are you thinking of cavalier paladins?
Both. I'm thinking of both. I just don't understand why they're singles.
They're pious men on a quest. They don't believe in.
Yeah, but the clerics are pious men, yet they have a retinue.
Do they?
So I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I don't know the thinking behind it. So if someone can clarify that, that would be great. But that being said, this article does give a little standard list. He explains the different levels, the 0 level guys that you get in the beginning, then you get your elite followers that are more specialized. Then you get your specialists, which gets you, like your ballista crews, your heavy cavalier. But my one thing I have a problem with this article is the last set of followers, which is the exceptional followers. And I'm not exactly sure why a paladin would need these magical creatures.
It's kind of weird.
And why is a dragon, silver and gold of all things, going to be a follower?
Or a naga? That doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, or a cloud giant. These are creatures that could crush a paladin, and they're not going to be like, oh, you're this well renowned. Yeah. I'm going to do what you say. That just makes no sense to me.
Nah, this
a neutral good Jan.
Yeah. It was weird.
I don't think he'd tolerate a neutral good.
Or Lamasus too.
If we're still playing with this alignment crap that everyone clings to. Now you want to talk about a system, Thack or alignment all day. Out of there.
Right, because
that's a callback.
Arguably, like exceptional followers. At that point, you're probably playing in like immortal rules. Like you're the highest levels, and you want like at that point that's when you swing for the fences, all the wildest stuff. But you're still a paladin, and you still have to adhere to the alignment.
Yeah.
So some of those
As far
just
as this games, yeah. So I mean, up until then, this list is great, and then you get to this thing, you're like, what the hell is happening with
It's
this
like
thing?
they just like for the Uber gamers, they're like, here's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Why
I
would
mean, just give
brownies?
examples.
Why would a paladin have
Yeah.
brownies hanging around him?
And why would a juvenile silver dragon be dispatched to a paladin's castle by its parents,
Maybe it's just
who,
maybe it's a
who
pet.
wanted to learn of human history? I don't get that. That makes no sense to me. I think
Quaddles. It's such a
dragons
weird
are
list.
above that.
Yeah.
So and a quaddle, yeah. I mean, it's this whole list is
I can abide a talking owl. That's it.
But then
no
he's
more.
not. But then
No
he's not a
more.
druid. Then he's not a druid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you need a wise old owl to be your.
It just crosses over and all this stuff, and
It's
I just
weird.
don't like it.
It is a strange.
I mean, this list, table 4, out of there,
Although a bunch
the
of
articles,
of
okay.
mist wolves running around is kind
and
of
then
cool.
the articles.
I always
great.
loved mist wolves. They're the coolest. The picture for the mist
You leave
wolf
that-
was so great. I love it.
You leave that chart in there, and this article just goes to shit.
Yeah, it's a weird addition. Like they're like, let's just. It was kind of boring until now. Let's just make it crazy. So
Yeah. So I mean, I'd have to go back and read. I don't know too much because it's been a
Never
while
learned to
since I played AD&D, so I don't know if it's even explained as to why paladins don't get followers in the books.
I'm sure it's to do with their piety.
Yeah.
Jack, what's your next one?
my next one. If we could go to page 30, please. So right next door. We're just gonna scroll down here.
Yeah, this is one of mine for sure.
Yeah. I knew one of you two were going to pick this because I know you guys love your weapons.
I thought
defense-
you loved our polls.
I was
Easy.
I was going to go kinky,
Arms.
but I decided not to.
He does love our arms.
When they're around me.
Um,
Aw.
in Defense of Pole Arms by Gary Detweiler.
I was giving Pat a virtual hug.
You were throwing gang signs up.
I was hugging Jack.
Rob, stop crip walking all over the set. We gotta get this done. We can't. This isn't the halftime of the Super Bowl. Let's get this knocked out. Improve your reach and damage. The title is In Defense of Pole Arms, and he starts with, "Hey, when you're thinking, the portrayal of a fighter or a hero or something in it's sword all day long,
Or
all day
axe,
strong,
or yeah.
that's, and then you go, okay." He said down at the bottom of that list is a pole arm, and then he starts with in the military what its uses would be for, and then how you could use it as a. These are just suggestions, like you would say, like a charging horse. They were used
You
to
can
dismount.
unseat them. Yep.
So you could double the damage and do this, and it goes through a couple other uses, kind of similar to that. Then he's got special uses, which are kind of specialty pole arms. One was like, oh, you could have a magical pole arm that just looks like a pole, and then it becomes a pole arm. So it kind of, you could, anyone who's not down for carrying around a pole arm would be able to have something.
Also, you can use it the same way using your poles as use your pole to detect traps and stuff. You can use your pole arm to do the same kind of things. Like there's uses for them.
Yes. Because he says a lot of things. Anything you need reach, anything you and then, like I said, magical pole arms that
I want a
would have
Vorpal
this-
Volge.
Yeah, there's no
I like
Vorpal Volge,
I like
jeez.
alliteration.
Vorpal Volge. There's no reason. I was going to start going with all the
A
pole
flame
arms,
tongue
but
flamberge. Oh wait, flamberge is a sword, isn't it?
No.
A Luceran
Guisarm, a glaive Guisarm.
glaive Guisarm.
He accidentally added glaive in there when that's all that is a giant shuriken with bony shuriken. Yeah, so magical ones. Why can't it have the same magic that the swords have, and to add
Yeah,
the
why
more comparable
when
effect.
in the lists of all the magical weapons aren't there any magical polearms?
And then he follows up with, which I think is you know, a heroic tradition. He goes through and says, in history, the Macedonians used these pole arms. These people did this, and the Asians did this, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a, hey, they're not that bad in history. They have a place, and it's something. And it was kind of like a historical, like they're not that bad. Give them a shot. And I would say that as short and sweet, 2 pages of polearm goodness. You can't argue with that. He got in. He said right in the title what it was. Hit all the notes. Got out. And I think that's it was well worth to read.
Yeah, I said he makes a lot of good points, and it does bring up why aren't they more popular? Why doesn't everybody have a nice halberd on them?
Exactly.
My point is, try swinging that in the dungeon.
Exactly.
There's no
It's
rules
great
for
when
that.
It's great when you're in a field.
Yeah,
But when you're in a 10 by 10 hallway,
but they never really. I don't think there's any rules in AD&D about that. So,
I'd rather have a javelin in the dungeon.
Yeah, a little stabby.
Yeah.
But pole arms are spears, and spears traditionally, for the most part, even Lucerne hammers have the end with the pokey bit, and those are traditionally, spears are the most common weapon, most dangerous weapon throughout all of history.
That's the easiest weapon, yeah, for sure.
In a
sharpened
dungeon,
stick. It's a sharpened stick.
You might not get some Cantonese kung fu high flying action, use it as a pole vault and spin it around over your neck and around your thighs.
Crouching tiger, hidden dragon.
Yeah.
But do you think it's just a publicity thing? You don't see knights with pole arms very often. Is that why people they're not very popular? It is an interesting question.
It is. I mean, maybe because the pole arm is reserved for the regular footmen.
Yeah, but I love the idea of a halberd. Halberds are awesome.
I mean, the people I see with the halberds now are the Swiss Guards.
Yeah.
The Swiss Guard classic.
And it is funny. It is an odd thing that for a cheaper price, like he says, you can get a better weapon. So why don't people do it? And it's just because everybody loves a bastard sword. You're paying out the ass for a bastard sword, but they're awesome.
I do love me a hand and a half sword. That's for sure.
I know, that's the thing. Swords are the Maserati of the weapon world.
They're the Lamborghinis of the weapon world.
It's true. Nobody wants a Hummer. Jack. Easy. We're not doing phrasing anymore. Anyways,
phrasing.
That was one of my articles. Do I have another article? We'll go to page 82. This one's, or 84, I think it is actually. This is an interesting one. The Game Wizards is all about Marvel superheroes, and I was like, Marvel superheroes, they still have this license, don't they? I looked into it. So this is a lineup for 1992. They're like, oh, look at all this great stuff coming out in 92 for Marvel superheroes. Good times. Good times. It all came, but 93, yoink, license gone. So they have all this stuff in 1 year. So get your Marvel superheroes while you can, because they lose the Marvel superhero license in 1 year.
Are you? Because obviously they sign a contract, they know how long they've got the license for.
I see. Yeah.
Everyone, that would be day one. That was set in stone. So do you think all this stuff was like,
we got to get this out? Yeah. I feel that because when's the last time they had this much Marvel superhero stuff coming out? Like this is a crazy amount of stuff. And they also a lot of this is crossover stuff. They have a lot of stuff that it's good for gamers and for comic readers, like those the Marvel superheroes guidebooks. They do both, and they really don't focus on the game rules as much in these books. There are a lot of just like background stuff, and this is how you use it. And the game rules are kind of secondary in a lot of this, so it's interesting that they see the writing on the wall, I think, and they want to get some crossover stuff out, get that to the public so they can sell more, and then their license is gone. I believe the license goes because Marvel decides to, I think, try to put one out themselves, and it doesn't do very well. But anyways, it's 93 is the end of this, so we got 1 year of Marvel superheroes until no more
it goes away.
No more Marvel superhero Marvel File and Dragon. It's only one last year of it.
And 92, 93, I'm not certain, but Marvel really starts hurting.
Yeah.
Marvel really starts hurting, and
It's around
maybe
this
they're
time,
starting
yeah.
to
Yeah.
circle the wagons, pulling everything. We got to
We got to
do
make
something.
money for ourselves, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. If we can just
Don't they reboot around this time? Am I thinking, or is that
Reboot what?
2000s?
Reboot what?
Their kind of whole universes like DC did. Remember when DC rebooted?
Marvel never rebooted. They did the Ultimate Universe, but that was not.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That was
That's what I'm thinking
2000s.
of. Ultimates. Maybe they do the 2000s when they did the
Around
Ultimates.
this is probably a New Universe. There's kind of a reboot they did.
New 52.
No, the New Universe 52 is later too. That's DC.
DC, yes.
But New Universe
Oh.
was back in the 90s. They did that whole thing where what if superheroes were real, and they had their whole thing, and that they destroyed Pittsburgh at some point. It's good. It's actually fun comic books. But yeah, that would have been around now. Maybe wrapping up at this point. But yeah, like Jack said, I think this is the beginning of the end for like bankruptcy was coming soon for Marvel also. So I think there was a lot of that coming on, selling a lot of their properties off, and that's when Fox took over all this stuff. And
because you can't have a fire sale when someone else holds license to it either. So you have to consolidate and then start with the put everything on the lawn and go.
Yep.
25 cents.
Who wants what? Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the state of Marvel right now. So there's a lot of stuff like a lot of updates to their X-Men line and their Fantastic Four and Spider-Man lines to get them up to current standards in the comic books. So the Mutant update has all the stuff about X-Force and Excalibur and stuff, all the newer teams and
yeah.
So it's all that's all it's about. I just thought it was interesting because I was like, oh, I didn't even realize they still had the license at this point, but not very soon. It's this is the big burst, like Jack says. Let's get everything out. We're done. Let's just wash our hands of it. See how much we can sell off before they take the license and we can't sell anymore. Because that's the thing about license too, is it doesn't matter. Like you can't even sell the ones you have. I think the stock you have to like get it done. So. They want to get it out as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any more articles? Pat, do you have any more?
I do have one more.
Okay, what page?
Let's go to page 76.
76.
Role-playing reviews.
Bladestorm.
This is the review on miniature wargaming by Rick Swan. He goes through 4 systems here. His premise of this thing is you go to Gen Con and you see the miniature areas just budding with people, filled to the brim with people, but then you realize it's just mostly spectators and there's just a few people around playing actual games. And he says, well, why is that? And one of the things he says is that the most reason why RPGers resisted wargaming is because they aren't fun.
Well,
because he's setting
different
the rules
type of fun, yeah.
Well, he says they're setting the rules are easier for RPGs than the rules for
miniature games.
Wargaming. And the wargaming rules are promising you this one thing, but then they fall short on giving you that experience, is what he's saying, for RPGers at least.
Yeah.
So then he goes through a bunch of these new ones. I know. I would beg to differ a little bit as far as that is concerned, falling short. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about a battle game. You're not talking about a role-playing game in that sense, where you're not playing single individuals. You're playing an army.
And they probably want a story because you're used to role-playing games as a story.
Yes.
Where miniature games isn't a story; it's more what happens when
I don't think his.
You'd not come from the right angle. I think that's.
I think he does talk about the cost, about the amount of miniatures, which I think is more the cause than is what he thinks. He thinks the cause of miniatures is not a deterrent at all.
Oh, for us it was for sure, because I think I would have played a lot more Warhammer if I could afford Warhammer.
Well, I shouldn't say the cost; it's the amount of miniatures that you have to have.
Well, that's the cost, yeah. Because I definitely I would have played a lot more if I could afford it, but at the time I was just a poor kid, and I remember Jack was working at a game store when we were playing Warhammer, and just the prices were then I'm sure. Like, it was probably not expensive, but at the time, it's like, wow, that's really expensive. But to get that
you got more
my
then.
Dark
Back
Elves.
then, it was kind of expensive, but you got more as you do today.
But I remember thinking, wow, I just can't afford to do this. Like, you have as much as you have, but that's it. Like, that's why I think it never really took off with us early like that. Not until much later.
So he goes through the different systems that are out now, one of them being Fantasy Warriors. Um, he thinks that if the Fantasy Wars, he gives like a 3.5. It doesn't give him very high rules. Only the AD&D battle system gets 4.
Of course.
Uh, and I think
Skirmish only got 3.5.
Yeah, but Fantasy Wars, he thinks that the rule book had been stripped down, and other things, it would have been better. D&D, he thinks it's reformed to 2.0, and it's better now at that point in itself. But Bladestorms, he gives the glowing review for. He says it's while you get rules for large scales better, it's better suited to small engagement, so it's almost like a skirmish game in that sense, which is probably why I think he likes it better than the other ones. Because if you're talking skirmish, you're talking, what, 10, 15 models at all at that time?
Yeah, individual characters, not rank and
so so it's that's why I think he's coming up with that. And then Warlaw, for God's sakes, he gives 2.5 stars. He says that it's just it's a tough one. He says if you like the romance system, you might like this game, but he says it's just all over the place and not flexible in any sense. So, but I think it's a weird take on why RPGers or role players did not at the time in the 90s, because this is around the time too when I'm starting to play Warhammer. I'm playing Epic, we're playing Space Marine, or not Space Marine, Rogue Trader, and this might be 2nd edition Warhammer at this point too. Now too,
I think it might be in 3rd edition. This is almost when we're playing. It's really.
Oh, you're right. 92 is 3rd edition.
Yeah, because that's when we started in 3rd edition. That's the box set we bought was 3rd edition.
So I'm not really role playing. So I don't disagree being a role player. It's 2 different games in that sense. You can't really compare them.
I understand you're coming from this world and you're like, you don't understand miniature games, and you're like, why isn't it like this? Well, that's not the game. That's like asking why Monopoly's not like Catan. It's a different game.
Exactly. Thankfully, I did not have that kind of mindset
biased
when I moved.
Yeah.
I just love role playing. This is how you play this game.
Yeah, we never had that. Yeah.
Oh, this is different, but I like it. Let's give that a shot.
I think we like the idea of miniatures. That's probably where we got into miniature gaming, but we never thought about it as, oh, we have to have narrative to this. It was more like, hey, let's put a lot of things on the board.
I wonder if he's
smash
just
into each other.
Tying loosely that people are using miniatures in role playing games, but it's still not a miniature game in that sense.
And you're right. They're 2 different games, and there's a big difference between the spectacle of at a convention seeing 1,000 miniatures and going, oh, I'll stand here and watch this.
Yeah.
And an interest in it or an intention to play it. It's 2 different things. We've all been to conventions. I'll go and see someone playing Saga, or I'll watch someone be playing Infinity. And I'm looking at the miniatures. I'm looking at this, but I'll walk away and never think twice. I think it's 2 different.
Unless it's Malifaux, because it's always hot girls playing Malifaux.
What?
It's true.
Really?
Oh yeah. That's Malifaux is like, it's like catnip to hot gamer girls. For some reason, they love Malifaux. Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's
the last of my articles.
Do I have any more? Jack, I assume you don't have any more, right?
No. I stick to the rules.
We'll just zoom up it since it's right here on page 81 is the novel ideas. It's just a ton of books that TSR's putting out. I'm like, wow, they're really pushing the books because there is so many in this list. They have like every different SKU has 1,000 books.
The novels are still selling well at this point.
Well, that's the point. They put so much money into these novels. They're like, oh, we're making money. Oh, look at all this money. And all of a sudden the bookstores are like, oh, by the way, if we rip the covers off and send them back to you, you owe us that money back. And they're like, what? Who? Yeah. They don't do that for role-playing games. Yeah, it's a different world. And they soon find out that world bankrupts them. So, but they're really putting a lot of their eggs in this book basket because they know it's quick money. You get these authors, they pump out these books. They're all little formulaic.
$4 a paperback back in the 90s and the 80s.
And they just put a crap ton. So, and they just shotgunned. There's so many books. Like it just you could see like every different SKU has like 10 books. So
every property that they have has a book. Mm-hmm. So
it's crazy. I just thought it was interesting that you can really see it. It's they don't see what they're doing to their own market. They don't realize that, oh, wait, if we flood this market, eventually people are going to be like, oh, I don't want any more of these books. And they're going to stop buying them. And then all these bookstores are going to be like, oh, we have all these books we don't want anymore. Take them back, motherfuckers. So, other than that, I think that's all my articles. Pat, any more?
Nope, I am done.
I am done. So let us move to ads. We'll start with Jack so we don't steal his ad. What is your first ad, Jack?
Let's go to page 115.
Right at the end, isn't it?
Stop a horrible winter curse. This is an adventure for Dungeons and Dragons. The game Dungeons and Dragons, not to be confused with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We talked about a couple weeks ago the new box set, and with all the updated art, everything's up to, the standard of the time, and now the adventures are starting to have that same look. Gone are the days of the classic look. This has the title. Yeah. No, not cheesy, but there was a layout. This has the new layout. It has the new.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the way? They have the trade dress and the
The presentation is the new.
I thought you meant the actual artwork. Yeah.
The new brand.
Yeah.
Well, I like the artwork.
This is still for the Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Though, right?
Yeah.
Not
that's what he said. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
See, I look at my phone, but I listen to you, Jack. That's the difference, okay?
I did listen to you, but I was mistaken. I thought we were comparing the new, because AD&D also takes a different turn.
Oh yeah, for sure. Second edition is much different than first edition AD&D, or like layout wise.
The branding of Dungeons and Dragons, and this being an adventure for Dungeons and Dragons, has that new look, that the cohesive look. And
with
you
the
can
red
see,
ampersand.
And on the cover there, it looks like a snow mimic or something grabbing a guy. It's got it looks the part. It's got the artwork and everything like that.
And it's not. I find it. You can instantly see it's not as adult either as AD&D. Right? It seems you always get the feeling like, oh, this is still for little kids.
Really?
I find just from that layout of that the cover.
I don't know if I get that.
It reminds me of a Choose Your Own Adventure cover.
It reminds me of a book cover. That was what I was going to say. I was going to say it reminds me of a paperback that you would get at a Walden Books or a Kohl's or something like that. It has that, like, oh, that's interesting to me, rather than this is a supplement for a game.
Yeah. It's not the old colored folios of we used to get for the adventures.
Yeah. So that's they're starting to make adventures for the new D&D.
Yep, it's they're targeting the youth with the D&D, which is good. I think that's smart because it's simpler and get the kids in there, get them hooked. Then they have to buy all the millions of books for AD&D.
And then
Pat, what's your first ad?
H2.
Oh, right from one end to the other.
Yep. AD spell cards. I did not remember seeing these coming out, but I do remember this artwork.
I remember the spell cards. Yeah, it's pretty much. I don't know why these aren't. They have a whole box of cards. I don't know why they had a separate thing to make the spell cards here too. So, but it's just spells.
Yeah, it's just spell cards.
It is useful.
I don't remember the spell cards being out.
I do.
I don't, but I do remember this picture, and I can't remember. Is this picture the same picture that was on the Tome of Magic, or no?
No. Tome of Magic is, isn't it? I'm trying to think. It is a wizard, I think, but it's not. I think he's in blue, isn't he?
I wonder if I remember it because maybe I just saw the spell cards and just dismissed them like, you can't read a book.
You can't read a book. The thing about spell cards is you can have all your spells on you, and you flip the card or give the card as you use the spells, so it's easy to track. So you don't have to, when you're writing on your paper and you have to keep erasing and scratching.
That's 5.5 right now.
Hey, Rob,
yes?
While you're on your phone, can you do me a favor? You're looking up.
I forgot. You distracted me. I forgot what I was looking up. Oh, yeah, the cover of Tome of Magic.
Yes. So then after that, I got one question.
Yes?
Elmore had a comic, and I don't remember the name of it.
Shut up.
What?
Oh, Tome of Magic is a guy, a wizard with like a dragon thing fighting like a white fairy girl.
Okay.
I don't remember that cover, actually. I thought it was another cover. Maybe I'm thinking of another book.
Either way, the spell cards, I think, are one of the things that would make people who weren't down to clown with wizards and clerics and stuff like that.
Makes it a little easier for them. Yep.
The barrier to entry is a little less. And I know today people use them pretty extensively.
Now I could say I would love to have these things. I realized, but then back then, I think honestly, my purest attitude was like, you can't fucking read a book.
All I know is I was picking spells for, I think it was cleric spells for when we were doing Tome of Horrors, and my sheet looked like a rat's nest. Trying to write all those spells down, like it would be so much easier just to have a deck of cards and be like, oh, thank God, I have these cards I can just look through.
Again.
And you would take those cards out, and you would only have them, so you have your spells set up so that I used it, it's gone.
Yep, exactly.
I used it, it's gone.
It's such a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not necessary, but it's like one of those makes your life easier. If I was going to be like a magic user, I would definitely want to do this.
As I'm in my old age, I can see where my younger self erred in his decisions to ignore this.
What do they call it? The life improvement things? Like it's just not necessary, but it just helps a bit.
Yeah. And I understand people love wizards because they memorize everything and that's their jam. You get someone like myself that's not their thing, a little crutch. A little bit of a crutch never hurt.
That would help you for sure.
And Rob, speaking of your cleric in Tomb of Horrors, how many spells did he get to use? Because I remember how many.
I did use some. I did use some healing spells because we got the traps just kept fucking us over. But your cleric got blasted in the chest. It was great. Anyways,
one spell.
Yeah, well, it's because you're greedy. You should have given us some spells. We were all healing. We needed some healing, my friend.
Yeah, it was me that needed the healing.
Before he got blasted, because just put it on top of that.
You made it seem like that was a smart thing to do. Anyways, I'm going to page 103.
Okay, 103.
It's a source book for vampire, but I looked at this and I was like, oh, this is some knockoff. This is not vampire. This is like, look at the art. It's terrible. This is not what I know from a vampire art. We were just talking about Bradstreet.
I don't even remember seeing this Milwaukee by Night source book.
No.
It is White Wolf.
It is, yeah. I was like, this must be a knockoff, but nope, it's by White Wolf.
You're right. That looks like
Rob, this book really looks like.
That in high school, that was your art style. Mm-hmm. Like that vampire, I could see that if I collected your character at the end of the game session. I look down and go, oh yeah, that's Rob's character. Like,
I little did I know I could have drawn for Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, well, definitely the Milwaukee by Night book does not look like that picture.
Yeah, it's a terrible. Like even the vampire or the werewolf's arm is not the right length. Like it's a very terrible.
Yeah, I think that was just the.
Oh God, you're right.
I don't think that the artwork was done, and they needed to put this ad out.
And they're like, "Hey, intern, can you just drop a vampire fighting another girl?"
We need concept art.
Yeah, it was bad.
And again, that artist probably put their heart and soul into it. But we've seen
Bradstreet.
The Bradstreet. We've seen this.
Yeah.
And there's going to be very few people who are going to be able to do an illustration when you're comparing the two that's going to meet that. So
especially if vampire was so known for its aesthetic, like this almost ruins the aesthetic. Like you look at it, it's like, oh, this is cheap. This is not like what I want. Yeah,
the bar is very high, and we are grading this on that scale.
Well, I'm looking at this as we need to put an ad out. We need concept art.
But I think
here's concept art. Just throw it on top of it.
Yeah, I don't think it was a smart thing to do.
No, I don't disagree with that either.
Did you see there's a source book? There's Chicago, Milwaukee, and Gary metro area source books. What a weird source book.
It's all the cities on the lake.
Yeah, it's weird.
Say it right.
Well, then there's a Chicago.
Milwaukee,
Chicago by Night later, anyways. But I will say, the decision to put this out, like you said, is bad because
it looks cheesy.
I almost blew past this ad.
I thought, there's already.
I only saw Vampire the Masquerade out of the corner of my eyes. I was being spinning the mouse wheel at a Mach 3.
I literally was like, I was going to talk about it because I was like, they're already putting out third parties are putting out things for Vampire already. And I was like, oh wait, this is not.
You're right. It would be like, this is Vampire from Wish.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta, we've made this other thing. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah.
That's what I thought. It was just like, this is a third company trying to get in another Vampire thing. Let's put out like a Milwaukee. Obviously, White Wolf's not putting out a Milwaukee supplement. Like, it's such a weird thing. But anyways, we're back to Patrick, I think. No, Jack doesn't have any more, I assume, right, Jack?
No, I followed the rules.
Yeah.
All right, so then let's go to page 98.
98.
The very bottom, the Cheswick small figure carrying case.
Definitely had something similar to this.
I remember seeing this, and I think Games Plus still has these little things for sale up on a shelf somewhere. And I put in my notes that I would bet Jack probably has figs in his right now.
I do have figs in mine right now. I have Asterion.
Joint Bell team.
Definitely, I have enough for Dead Zone, but because that was my Dead Zone for
Adepticon tournament.
But I had enough in case I had to play.
Oh, that's right. Firefight.
Yeah. So there's lots of Asterion little robots in there.
So I just
a lot of black talons.
I love these little cases, and they always remind me of the cases that you would have for grade school to put your pencils and pen in.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what they were. They just reused them.
So, but that was my quick one. I just wanted to say that we can still buy these at Game Plus, and then I wanted to poke Jab in the stomach with his figs being in a case.
It wasn't because it's a truism.
In a 22-year-old figure case.
Yeah, and it still works perfectly fine.
22-year-old. This is 32-year-old.
No, 32-year-old.
33-year-old now. My last ad is on page 63. And I say, stop trying to make Buck Rogers into something, guys. This is a Buck Rogers video game.
SSI put this game out. Really?
Well, it's because SSI did all the TSR games.
Yeah, they must have went to SSI and said, hey, can you put a Buck Rogers game together
They're like, really? You want something that's
not
going to sell?
And they were like, yeah, we'll just reskin Pool of Radiance and put Buck Rogers art on it.
It is, stop trying to make Buck Rogers a thing. Lorraine, put it down.
Put it down. I know you owns the...
Yeah, I know you want the money. I know you want the licensing fee, but come on. You're driving this company to the ground right now with this stuff right here. This is it.
Yeah.
Might be a fun game. Who knows? But
we saw board games. We've seen books. We've
multiple
seen
role-playing games.
Role-playing games. Video games. I don't know how much you have to do to not succeed and still continue on, and someone not just like grab your hands and just go stop.
Well, I'm sure it was part of the agreement was like, as long as we keep putting stuff out, you have to keep paying that licensing fee, and they're like scratching each other's backs because the family owned it, so she was just helping her family out.
It could also be grift, yeah.
Oh, it is. It's not could be. It is. There's no way this stuff is selling.
Legally.
Come at me, Lorraine.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember seeing this game.
Nah. That's because I'm sure there's thousands of them in a landfill somewhere. That's why.
There's the ET Atari game, and then there's Buck Rogers.
It might even be like one of those things where, like, yeah, just print 1,000 of them. We don't care. You just have to have the license. We don't care how many you make of them. Like, it's not about sales. It's about TSR paying the license for Buck Rogers.
I'm waiting for the day when it starts showing the specs that you need to run these games.
Yeah, they don't have any of that stuff on these. Yeah.
No, just all it says is that this is a VGA display that you're seeing.
Well, that's at the time that was the sound and the display really determined what games you could play.
Yeah, and 1992 SVGA was just coming out. I think.
It's the shiznit. Pat, any more ads?
I am done.
Jack's done. I'm done. Let's get the hell out of this one. This has been 178, a fancy one. It was all right. We had a lot to talk about. Jack is pointing at me again. He means comment below. He loves the comments. And like, share, subscribe. ring the bell, do all that stuff Jack loves you to do.
Exactly.
I can't remember what the question we asked in this one because I always forget. My brain.
The Australian game, I think.
No, I don't think that was this one. No,
last week.
I think that was last. That was last week.
Roger Elmore made a comic, and
yeah, please comment below. Tell us what comic was.
I need to know. It had the robot and the guy.
Sure, when you comment, we'll know what that question is.
Jack called me out before I could finish my research. If I'm looking at my phone, it's not to look at reels from my girlfriend.
Or Pat's wife sending you transmogrifying.
It's none of that.
Dog Jesuses. It's
Dog Jesus.
purely work.
That's right. It's purely research. Anyways,
all right.
I've been Rob, I guess.
And I'm Jack.
Bad boys.
I know, I did that on purpose. I'm sorry. I'm Chopper.
Are you Jack still? We never heard you, Jack.
Oh. And I'm Jack.
Because Pat talked over you.
I figured I was speaking over him.
No.
He came in like this.
I came in like... I came in.
He came in like a hurricane. So
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Ooh.
Ooh.
We'll be back for 179. That's 179 next week. We'll see what the cover is. I don't even know. I haven't looked ahead. Bye-bye. Join us. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Miss you already. Bye-bye. Oh, look at that.
Mm.
If we had iPhones, Jack would be shooting hearts all over the place.
Shooting hearts. Bling, 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 bling. Like this.
Shooting hearts.
Let's go.